we're back already for another race weekend vlog. We just finished, just last weekend we did the 6-hour mountain bike race. Got second there. It was a really fun race. If you didn't watch that video, you should go check it out. It was pretty fun. But yeah, it's Friday. It was probably 2 o'clock. We're going to be leaving here soon to head towards Saluda, South Carolina. We're actually staying in Greenville because there was no hotels open in Saluda, but yeah, me and Nate are driving in together. So it's a 100-mile gravel race. It should be really fun, but really hard. It's 3,500 feet of climbing for this course this weekend. So after last weekend's 6-hour or 5-hour-ish effort, I should be really pretty good for this weekend, but we will see. Me and Dylan just are doing a little easy spin. I've just been trying to let my legs recover and then try to wake them up today a little bit, and yesterday. We did some hot laps on the short track. We're gonna head to the hotel and get some dinner, get some sleep, and then see you bright and early for a 100-mile gravel race tomorrow. Just got checked in, got our numbers. About to go put the number on the bike and then get kitted up and see, I don't know what time it is, but we probably have like an hour and a half to the start. Probably do a little spin, but not too much. It's a long race, so we'll see you on the start line. I'm gonna try to put the GoPro on the bike and see if I can't get some good footage that way. Just hope the battery lasts. So here we are at another start line. This is the Southeast Gravel Saluda Red Bank 100. This is the last gravel race of their series. They have like a 6-race series, and we try to do as many as we can. I only got to a couple this year, but so this is their longest race. They've never had a 100-mile race before that I know of, and I've never done a 100-mile gravel race before. So I was a little nervous, but honestly just kind of excited to get into it and hoped it wouldn't. I hope we would go pretty chill for at least, I don't know, a few hours, since it was such a long race. So you can see we started with a pretty big group because we weren't going that hard. Everybody was able to stay together. At mile 16, it starts getting pretty hard. Mile 16 is where Ben had, written down in the race Bible that's where the first nasty section of road is. And I think that's kind of what's going on here, is we're starting to speed up and get single file, getting ready for the rough gravel that's coming up. It was mile 16-ish, mile 15, 16 to like 17 and a half. It had some really big washed out sections going across the road. Just really a bad place to be behind anybody. You really wanted to be where you could see stuff. So riding right behind people on these like rough roads that we were doing was a pretty big disadvantage, and you had a pretty high likelihood of smashing something you couldn't see. So that was honestly one of the hardest parts about this race, is you couldn't ride right behind people on the rough roads, even though there was a draft, because we were going fast enough. If you did, you weren't going to be able to see anything, and you'd risk crashing or flattening out. So that was something we had to be careful of most of the day. Yeah, here we are. This is the rough section. So there's Nate, my teammate, in front of me. Here to the left is Andrew. Ahead of him is Riley. Same guy that we were racing mountain bikes with last weekend. So, and then Dylan Johnson was right behind us. And then there was one other guy, Talon Flynn, we were riding with most of the day, who was pretty fast. That was the main group of us that were riding together towards the front, taking pulls. So through this section, I knew, since it was so deep, these rocks were really deep. You can't really tell, but it was freshly laid rock, and they were pretty big. So everybody was having to do a lot of work to get through them, and I knew they would still be able to draft, but I wanted to go hard through this section, knowing that I would hit the rough stuff first, and I would make people work pretty hard in all this deep rock. So I tried to string out the field here. This ended up being like a 10-minute section of rough road, and I think normalized like 3:33 for the 10 minutes. So everybody was having to work pretty hard to keep up. This little group was off the front. Nobody was really worried about them. I think they were most of these guys were in the age group race, but I don't know. I guess they wanted to get off the front early and waste energy, but it was kind of pointless, to be honest. So we had a big group. So we continued to roll past that group and kept it hard for a little while longer. And then see here, Andrew pulls through, and then here's Dylan. This is kind of the first time he was at the front on this section of rough road. So he started pushing pretty hard. This is what really separated the group a little bit. He got to the front down some of these rougher roads and just started hitting the hills pretty hard, which I was happy with because we started thinning out the group and getting rid of some people that weren't going to pull through and that were just sitting on. This is most of the gravel roads we rode ended up being like this. A lot of them were really chunky, really nasty. There was a few mud holes, but it really wasn't that bad. Not as bad as they thought it was going to be. We had 2 weeks of sun before this race, so it was really dusty and dry in most of the race and then muddy in other parts. So it was really rough on our bikes, but it wasn't too bad. Here Andrew lets the gap open. I don't think he was feeling too great today, but Dylan was pushing the pace, and I think Riley was going with him. So me and Nate had to hop across. We couldn't afford to let a gap open up this early in the race. So as soon as we get across here, Dylan takes another ripping hard pull. I think he was on a mission to separate the field here, and I was happy with that. I wanted to get the field separated too. I wanted to come down to a 5-6 person group, so that we knew everybody was going to pull through and everybody would work, and it wouldn't be 20 people and only 3 of us pulling through. Because if somebody doesn't pull through, then everybody's going to think they don't have to pull through. And it was 100 miles, and we didn't want to be out there all day long. So I think we had the same idea. Here Riley gets a little squirrely. These descents were pretty rough, and I think he had pretty small tires, but I really enjoyed these roads. I like the rough roads. I think it makes it better for me because I feel like I have a little bit of an advantage, especially with the bigger tires and the mountain biking background, and so does Dylan. We rip down these descents pretty fast, and other people can't go that fast, so they have to go even harder on the climbs to keep up when we're already pushing the pace on the climb. So it really just gives us an advantage to go like a good reason to go even faster down the hills. Yeah, so here we were pulling some turns, showing that we were willing to work and get a gap. I'd rather work with Dylan and ride through with him than not pull through and then him attack, even though that's kind of what he did here. He rolled through really hard, like harder than he would if he was just pulling. So I think he was trying to get a little bit of separation, and I think Nate hesitated just a little bit, and Dylan got the gap opened up pretty big, and here you can see him up the road. He had a little bit of a gap, but honestly not that big. Here, Nate, he closes it down a good bit. Right up here was the aid station at mile 21, and I guess Dylan realized he had a little bit of a gap, but not as much as he wanted, so he just stopped at the aid station and grabbed a bottle of water. I think he only had 2 bottles, so he kind of needed to take that chance to fill up, because he didn't end up stopping at any of the other aid stations. So if he didn't stop at this one, he would have been in a bad way the rest of the race. But yeah, we got out of the aid station and just started rolling some turns on this fast paved section. You can see he was in his aero bars most of the time on the paved section, saving energy. And then here's Talon. He's primarily a mountain biker. He said he's never done a gravel race before, so he was riding hard all day, pulling most of the race, but never really saving any energy. So here Nate was going off the front. Dylan had flatted, and we had started rolling pretty hard. And I think me and Nate both had the same idea. We wanted to get out of the group because people weren't pulling through, and they were just sitting on, and we weren't just going to pull them the whole time. So he rolled off the front, and I was going to try to counter, or not counter, but a bridge to him, and it never ended up working out. So then a little after that, Dylan called us and asked if anybody was off the front, and he realized that somebody was off the front, so he just started rolling, and pretty much him and Talon just pulled Nate back. This section of road was really tight and rough, and he ended up pulling a lot of time back on Nate here. And soon after this, I think we caught back up with Nate. I think he was off the front for around 45 minutes, so he was rolling pretty good. So this is another one of those sections where if you were right behind somebody, you wouldn't be able to see what was coming up. There was sticks laying across the road, rocks, everything. So being just this far behind Dylan, I had to do about the same amount of work as he was doing, but it was, in my opinion, it was worth it because I could see what was coming, and I didn't risk hitting anything that I didn't know was there. One guy was too close behind me on one of these sections, and I hit a stick and it flipped up and went through his spokes and caused him to go over the bars. So it was pretty rough if you were right behind somebody. And just there you could see Nate up in the at the top of that hill. So we caught him soon after that section and just started rolling as a big group again. Not everybody was rolling through, but most people were rolling through. We were just taking pretty good turns, trying to keep the speed high. So just after this section here, Nate flatted, and I think he flatted around mile 68 or 69. So he was gone. So then it was just me, Riley, Talon, Dylan, and I think Andrew got dropped. This guy ahead of me got dropped. It was just 5 of us after this section, going into the last 30 miles, I guess. So here you see Dylan off the front right here. He had made a really hard dig down one of the descents. It was pretty rough and got a gap, and then kept it going on the next hill. And then this is the top of that next climb. So we come up to the top of this, and we eventually turn right on the pavement, and it was me, Riley, and Talon in a group, and you can just see him there. And he's probably 25-30 seconds up the road, maybe. and so we started rolling turns trying to catch him, and we all really wanted to catch him before or while we were on the pavement while we had a chance, but it just didn't end up working out. And he got down in his aero bars, and we didn't have, the three of us weren't really working together too great. I don't think anybody wanted to blow themselves up to catch him, and so we just kind of stayed right within distance of him until about 5 minutes, and then he had opened up a pretty big gap and we couldn't see him anymore. So the three of us rolled together for a while. Eventually Riley started letting gaps open and kind of drifting off the wheel, so I attacked him and the other guy, and it just got down to me and Talon. So I ended up coming in third. Talon gapped me off at about 3 miles to go, and then I barely rode into the finish. I think I did like 140 watts for the last 12 minutes. It was awful, to be honest. That was my first 100-mile gravel race, and it was really good. I need a little more gels. Underestimated the fueling again. I thought I would have it down this time after messing up last weekend, but it was just such a different effort this weekend than last weekend, and I had more gels. I had 8, but I needed like 10 or so, honestly. But
Piedmont College, and he looks a little bit knackered.
Jaden Grimes, third place.
that was brutal. Oh gosh. It was right at 5 hours. That was such a savage race. That course was so hard. Dylan was first, and then another guy, I don't know his name, that I was riding with was second. He dropped me with 2 miles to go. And I just could not go with him. But I'm pretty happy with third. That was a really, really hard race. Probably one of the hardest. It's definitely the hardest gravel race I've ever done, and probably the worst I've ever felt towards the end. But honestly, I was feeling pretty good most of the day, so I'm happy with that. We're gonna grab my phone and a hat, and then we'll go do Podium.
Result. In fourth place from Bicycle Sport, Travis Fender.
Travis, right here, my friend.
And third place from Piedmont, Jaden Grimes.